Hello everyone, welcome to Word Funk. I am Leon Thomas. I am joined, as always, by Johnny Maloney and Austin Yorsky. Fellows, how are you feeling this week?
I feel great.
Great. Oh, I like that.
But
that's different.
I think only because I had the flu up until a couple days ago. So
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it though. I'm not like, oh no, this false sense of wellness is only because I was just briefly exposed to something worse than my regular life. I'm like, nah, this is fantastic. I slept last night and I got a bunch of work done and like I'm unstoppable right now. I feel good.
Do I have to answer that question, Leon?
No, you don't have to.
Am I being detained? Am I free to go?
No. I mean, this is voluntary, this podcast that we do.
If it's not
together.
clear if I'm being detained, I might be having my rights violated right now, which I'm very much into sexually.
Okay.
Whoa, that didn't go where you thought it was going to go, did it?
Yeah, I was going to make a joke about that, and then you made it, and now it's like, it's too late. It's too late for me.
As a lawyer in training, Austin, what would your safe word be?
We've already had the safe word conversation, haven't we?
Did we?
I feel like I've talked about that before, but for the record, mine is Metroid Other M.
I'm pretty sure that I told you guys mine was corduroy.
Yeah. This comes up way too often.
Here, okay. I think our safe word on WordFunk should be jurisprudence.
Yeah. It's supposed to be something that wouldn't come up in ordinary conversation, though, so that only applies outside of Law Corner. When we're in Law Corner...
Yeah, when you're in Law
else.
Corner, it's not guilty, Your Honor. No.
Yeah. Mine is, can we stop? I'm tired. This isn't fun. Okay. So, topics for this week. I have a few, and they're mostly dumb. Does anyone have anything that's, like, more interesting than my dumb topic?
I need a hot load of your dumb right now, please.
Oh. Okay. Well,
I'm just not where I should rank what I think is fascinating against what you think is dumb.
Okay.
Is the problem here, Leon? Because I think I might have some interesting things to say, but I don't think you would agree with me.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, tell you what. Why don't I just throw one out there and start anyway. Is anyone else tired of Neil deGrasse Tyson's shit?
I quote tweeted him with my hot take when he did a dumb, but
Oh my God.
he's obviously just dumb now. So
I'm tired of Neil deGrasse Tyson's shit outside his field of expertise.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, Neil deGrasse Tyson is probably, like, super smart, and I respect him and his brain. But if I were ever at a party with him, I would, like, purposefully try to avoid talking to him.
Like, I would never walk up to him and say, hey, you heard any good music lately? Which, maybe is me, like, prejudging Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Like, he might have fantastic taste in music. I don't know that. But just because he's a great science educator does not mean that, like, he would be a font of amazing albums that would enrich my life.
Yeah, I feel like if you were to ask him about music, he was like, technically music only exists in your ears, so it's not something that I enjoy. By the way, I've never heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talk because I didn't watch Cosmos, so I'm just going to assume that's what he sounds like. In fact, I insist upon it.
yeah, he's a nerd who wants everyone to know how smart he is, even though he's being corny as fuck. He's basically Ready Player One in human form.
Yeah. I wouldn't enjoy being around him, is what I'm trying to say. Like, if we were...
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, like, if we were at a party and, we were eating something, he's like, technically a moon pie is not made of moon rocks. And I'm like, I don't care, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
I get it. All right, like, I'm also a nerdy person, and I think it's good when people are appreciative of my big sexy brain, but I also don't just say things that are provably wrong in public as often as possible. Sometimes, almost certainly, but he seems to be making some kind of Olympic run for it.
I think it's a pretty fantastic demonstration of just like Twitter in general.
Yeah, that's fair. I think there's a lot of people who are really smart, which he is, obviously, we're joking, but there's a lot of people who are otherwise totally respectable and smart who have a big platform and feel the need to constantly like generate witty content.
Just say anything that's on your mind, like how great would it be to eat human flesh?
Yeah, there's only so many wry observations any person has in them at a given time, and sometimes you try to fill that void with just whatever nonsense is up in your noodle, and it comes out and it's super creepy.
And suddenly everybody just recognizes that, like, yeah, you're not a very good baseball player, and it's just like strikeout after strikeout until they, stick you at shortstop, and everybody's like, I remember why you're here now.
Yeah, the musing about cannibalism was not Neil deGrasse Tyson, for the record.
No.
He's more into calendars. Like, that's his thing. He has very specific opinions about calendars.
And also, sky shots in movies, which I've always found kind of endearingly funny about Neil deGrasse Tyson, because he will watch movies and then be like, nah, that's not right. Like, you've got the constellations in the wrong fucking place for this time of year, like, in this part of the hemisphere, that's not fucking right.
Yeah,
and I'm always
it's not
like,
a documentary, dude.
I'm always like, nobody cares, but I love it that you do.
I actually don't love it that he does, but, to each their own.
Yeah, like, I get it. Like, I'll watch a movie and I'll be like, that biblical reference is actually conflating Paradise Lost with canonical material. But then I don't go on to Twitter and, like, try to fucking mansplain, like, ichthyology to people or some shit that I have literally no idea about.
I wonder about these things. Like, I wonder if you weren't so obsessed, right? Like, so all-consumed every waking moment, would you be as good at what you do if you weren't? Like, I mean, results don't come just because of inspiration. Like, old sports adage, right? 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration, or whatever the fuck it is.
Math.
Something like that.
Like, hard work is what gets you there. Persistence, like putting your time in, making it happen. Like, I am a good martial artist. I am. I pick it up faster than a lot of people. I am very well coordinated. I kind of have a lithe body that's very good at what it physically requires me to do, with the exception of some problems with my hips that kind of like wax and wane over the course of my life, depending on how good in shape I am. But there are people who surpass me because they just put the fucking hours in, and they just fucking do it, Like, they can't get through the day without working out for 2 fucking hours, and I'm like, nah, I think I'll just take gifted.
So what you're saying is Neil deGrasse Tyson's hips don't lie? I lost you somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
I think what he's trying to say is that he could beat Neil deGrasse Tyson in a fight.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was implying.
Okay.
I'm glad we can agree.
I'd watch that on pay-per-view.
I'm also probably certain that I could spit farther than he. Just while we're on the subject, you think you're all that, deGrasse Tyson? Let's see you hawk a loogie.
Johnny, are you especially good at expectorating?
That was a suspiciously long silence. What is there to think about?
This is the thing, is that I can't say for certain, because I don't think that's really a challenge that anybody has ever taken me up on.
Okay. Well, that's the first thing we're going to do, like, when we hang out. Like, I'm going to see you from across the room. I'm like, hey, your badness, let's spit. And then that's what's going to happen.
All right.
You're here to hear first.
And then you're gonna see me whip out, like, just a portable fucking bottle of, like, lassi yogurt drink. I just, like, down it in one, like, slam and be like, let's do this!
I guess.
And then tear off a pair of tearaway pants. And really, I've just been wearing a onesie, which the top looks like a dress shirt and a bow tie.
Yeah.
That was quite an image.
It was.
If we're done dunking on the science man, I do want to kind of segue this idea, though, of arguing on social media. I've been thinking a lot this week about the energy of fighting on the platforms thing, because there's this new meme going around of that guy sitting at a table on a college campus that says, I don't remember what his original message was. It was like something, 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 change my mind. And the meme is like you replace the
yes,
something, something.
Right. He's sitting in like a promenade or something like that. And he's got a table and there's just a sign sitting. Like yeah. Okay, I know the meme.
And it's basically like, debate me, liberal snowflakes. Like, the fucking idea economy's here. Bring it, bitch. And like, I get that inclination. It's the same thing when you read Atlas Shrugged when you're 14, and you're just like, why can't just people be good at stuff? And I get it, but it speaks to this thing we have going on right now where it's respecting all sides has become listening to people who don't know what they're talking about, which that's the dovetailing with the Neil deGrasse Tyson thing is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's everything, right? From the flat earth people to the fucking...
Just for the record, I have always been of the opinion that some opinions can be dismissed outright.
Sure.
Like, what is it that I think it was Carl Sagan that may have said, it's absolutely important, like, it's key to keep an open mind, but not so open that your brain falls out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've kind of summed it up, but it's just that, like, I want to be the kind of person who is open to ideas, and I do think that legitimate ideas should be debated, but also I feel like we spend an inordinate amount of time arguing with idiots who don't know what they're talking about, and that has become, like, every person's, like, fucking pastime. Like, half of us have basically second jobs as explainers to idiots. And it's exhausting. There was recently this Betsy DeVos, the education secretary, who got the position by paying with literal war crime money, not a joke or exaggeration. And she went to speak somewhere, and people walked out, and all the pundits were like, "Where's the respect for the fucking debate and other ideas? Everyone wants to be in their echo chamber." And it's like she's bad, and her words are bad. Like. Any time spent explaining that is time could be spent doing literally anything else. Time listening to her is time wasted, thrown into the garbage.
The only justification of her presence there is as a unelected, completely unqualified figurehead. And that's just not worth the time it takes to listen to those garbage ideas and try and repudiate them against someone who is like, and let's be honest, there to pull the line, there to toe the line. Like,
the marketplace of ideas sounds like a good... that's really duplicative to say the marketplace of ideas sounds like a good idea, but that's what happened. Sorry. But the problem is the marketplace is full of shit. And I'm tired of being...
There's a bunch of Snuggies out there.
They're bad products. I'm sorry. And I just only have so many hours of wakefulness to engage. And I feel like people are trying to bully me into all these bad faith arguments. And I don't know where I'm going with all of this. The bad science man got on my nerves. And
don't get me wrong. Okay. I do believe that there is a time and a place for... for people to rise up in the spirit of debate, or however you want to make that inflection yourself. But that doesn't mean that everybody who has a different idea than I do deserves equal consideration. Yeah. I am done. And this is something that when the new atheist movement started picking up, and Sam Harris and Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins were in the limelight and being no, we actually have to confront religious intolerance of people who have no beliefs. I was yeah, let's do that. And I went as far as being wanting to defend my beliefs, or lack thereof, as I should, I'm sorry, prefer to label them, my lack of belief to other people, But that doesn't mean that I have to then step onto their lawn and say, now let's talk about why your fairy tales are stupid.
Yeah.
I kind of left the party at, if a creationist doesn't know already that there's something kind of hinky going on with the things that they have been taught, I'm not going to be able to do it in a YouTube comment section.
You lose for having engaged in that at a certain point. Like, the flat earth is the obvious one, but it's right now this fucking gun shit going on in Florida, like in our legislature specifically. It's like, you can't win with the people who've decided that the current state of affairs is okay, and any words you speak, you may as well flush down the poopy toilet. It's like, it's better to do literally anything else.
Yeah, nobody wakes up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat and is like, oh my god, I self-owned on Twitter.
Yeah. So we're 16 minutes in, and I promised myself this would be a positive episode, so I don't want to go any farther down this
Austin,
road.
stop.
You can't control us.
Stop
Yeah.
promising anything. Like, I used to promise myself that this would at least be interesting.
I've given up on that.
I've given up on a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have other stuff, but Austin, if you want to take it and do your thing, I'll hear it.
I have things. Was there a thing specifically that I was supposed to do? I felt like there was some.
No.
Okay.
I don't mean Austin, do that specific thing in particular. No,
I know that thing. I know that thing you like.
That thing you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I have a law thing here. It's not a downer, I don't think. Well, we'll see.
Well, you just spoiled it. I mean,
well, I don't know. I'm not talking about the outcome. I'm talking about the subject matter. Because, look, I take a lot of classes which are like, this guy cut all this person's limbs off, and it was very bad. And it's like, that's not fun to talk about. But here's a case. Fraley versus Facebook. So, might be fun for all you media-savvy people who are listening to a podcast on YouTube. What's up? How's your day going? So, you guys know Facebook, right? It's where all the faces are. They've been booked.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yep.
I put my face in a Facebook made for Facebook that specifically books my face and where it is.
yeah, my face
And it's
is
not
also-
working right now because it's funny. That was a VR joke. I'll talk to you about it later.
Okay. So
my face is also on Facebook, but it's definitely a face from me from a few years ago when I was thinner. So anyway,
I thought you'd been getting in shape, Leon, huh? Where's
I
your
am.
resolve?
I am, but still, I mean, look.
Still thinner?
I mean,
How
look.
much
It's a
heavier
marathon,
did you
not
get?
a race, Johnny.
Look, I know it's not a case of it being a marathon. It's like it's setting course in the right direction and then and moving in that direction and not being like, nah, you know what? We should go back to Cheeto Land.
I think the saying is it's a marathon, not a sprint. I guess both sprints and marathons are races. Anyway,
true.
All right. Regardless, all right.
Yeah.
so Facebook
yeah.
implemented a new, not new. This is a couple years old. It's lawsuit, a program where when you liked something, if the company of the thing you liked gave Facebook money, they would serve a algorithmically generated ad, which basically used the person's profile who liked it to hawk that product. So, for example, Johnny, you like a coffee shop on YouTube. You click the like button. Leon sees
On YouTube specifically or on
not
Facebook?
YouTube, Facebook.
Right.
I'm dumb. You click on a coffee shop's like button, click, and then Leon sees a post which says, Johnny posts, oh, I love the coffee here at this coffee shop. It's great. Thumbs
Leon
up.
would write a comment that would be like, coffee is terrible.
I would.
But basically, the way I described this in class, which my professor described as disturbingly accurate, was I said, so basically Facebook wears your friend's skin to try to sell you Doritos. Which was...
I think I had a dream like that once.
So there was this... it wasn't a certified class action. They had to go through some hoops to become a class action lawsuit, so this is earlier in the
Right.
process. But a putative class sued Facebook
For false representation?
For violating a California statute for right of publicity, a statute for unfair competition, and for common law unjust enrichment.
Those are some words.
Yeah. That's that right there is, I think, a case of what you call lawyers writing the legal code for their own benefit.
And so, at this point in the litigation, Facebook.
Now you need a lawyer. Look at all these words, man.
Facebook filed a motion to dismiss, which is where we are. So, do you guys think this just gets dismissed at this point or not? That's where we are.
So it like there's no. Like this hasn't been called yet. The umpire's still looking at the weather and being like, I don't know, it might rain, but also I kind of really want to see you guys punch.
It has, but that's...
I'm mixing up my sports metaphors.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. I've seen some violent baseball games in my day. Anyways.
As we are recording this in 2018, this is over. But at the time I'm bringing you the facts, it was not.
Okay. So this is the deliberation break where Leon and I retire to chambers and discuss.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get your guys' feedback, and then I'll explain why the answer gets to another place. So you'll see where I'm going. But basically, what do you think at this point?
I'm confused about all the things you said, so I'm having trouble making a judgment. But I'm gonna say,
well, we're not there yet, Leon. Right now, the question is, Facebook files a request to dismiss the case and be like, "That's fucking ridiculous. Like, you can't even take us to court. That's how stupid this is."
We're not even that far.
So so I say the request to dismiss fails.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You guys are both correct. It is not dismissed. So at this point, they could have moved forward, but the reason that I didn't jump in at the end of this case is because at this point it was settled out of court, which is very, very common. Only like 5% of cases actually go through the entire trial process. And so what's interesting about this case was the first tried to certify this as a class action, and at some point the judges realized the potential ramifications of this if it was a class action lawsuit. Even if every plaintiff was only awarded like $10, the settlement would be in like the billions because most of the earth uses Facebook. And so protecting corporate interests, one assumes, the court said, that seems excessive. So how about you put $20 million in a trust, and anyone who feels like they were wronged can apply to get their share. And since nobody heard about this, barely anybody did so, and most of that money just got donated to a charity.
What?
Oh,
you mean it's not still there for people to apply if they feel like their rights have been violated?
No.
But I guess it wouldn't really matter because I don't live in California.
I don't know if it was only people who were in California. It was just a California law that they were using to get to them. But the point was that it was never adjudicated, so we don't actually know if the people would have won because it was settled.
And weirdly enough, I never read about it on Facebook.
The thing is, Facebook is not only one of the most influential news sources, probably the most influential, if you know about the... I'm sorry. I'm ing for a very specific reason, and not that Facebook is, like... where tons of people get their news, but that they pull the same shit that like every other digital content provider does, and it's like, oh, we're not responsible for content. No, not us. We're just a doorway. We're just a gateway. They actually have to argue that because of something called a safe harbor rule, where if they don't, they could be legally liable for every bit of content posted. So they have to act basically as a neutral platform. So it's more than just that, like the moral cowardice of not taking responsibility. It also would just be ruinously expensive. I can
choose to be most offended by the moral cowardice.
Yeah. No, I mean, it certainly sucks that they have enabled all kinds of evil shit to proliferate on their platform. It also would just end them outright if they did take responsibility. But in addition to being like the world's #1 news source is a weird word.
No, news conduit.
Yeah,
Austin.
They're also basically one of the most powerful advertising forces. I think technically second to Google.
Austin, advertising conduit.
Actually, they do just straight up take money for ads, so they're more or less an advertising firm.
Right, then.
Google, I think, is technically bigger because of the way they service ads through AdSense and in their sponsored results and stuff. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if you're like looking at the most powerful business entities, it's like Google and Facebook are up there with like fucking the companies that control all the oil. It's very, very disturbing. But we were talking about this for like an entire hour and a half class session. This one case, everyone had very strong opinions about it. What do you guys think about Facebook using your information? We all know that's their business model, right? They use your information, they sell it, they service ads. But what do you think about basically them trying to use you as an unpaid endorsement, which is what they were doing in this program, was to say like, oh, Leon loves fucking hamburgers. Come get a Leon approved hamburger. Even Leon, you didn't get paid for that.
I wouldn't be okay with that. I would want all the money that they. No, I wouldn't even assume that I could sue for it. Although apparently I could. I would just think it's another shitty thing that Facebook did. I wouldn't like it, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a very intuitive dislike for all this, but also, like you said, also figure, well, I can't do anything about it. We've just kind of reached a point culturally where we've all been conditioned to accept the indignities.
That's how I feel about information sale at this point in time, frankly, because I sort of feel like there's just about no way for me to like properly live my life without somebody fucking off with my information, whether it be through like internet searches or like credit card usage or even like ATM usage. You know, like I remember the very first day that I signed up for a credit card, I started getting a bunch of shit mail. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I guess that's that. You know, like it seems as though, short of very drastic measures, it's almost impossible to get away from someone getting your info one way or another. But the usage of my likeness in advertisements that I have not, signed off on, I don't mind it if I'm like, I like Leon-approved burgers. And then someone's like, hey, Johnny likes Leon-approved burgers. Whatever. If they want to share that information, as long as I've said it's okay to share that information, fine. But if someone's like, Johnny likes Austin-approved tennis rackets, and I'm like, fucking hate tennis. Eat shit, Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, we could go on. That's an entire thing, but
not that you make bad tennis rackets, Austin.
Thank you.
I have no problem with tennis, but
so other court case that you guys may enjoy, United States versus Windsor. So there was a
the town?
No, a person.
Okay.
Oh, the family.
I'm just gonna go on. So there was a
the knot. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There was a lesbian couple in New York who went to Canada and got married. This is in 2007.
In Windsor?
Lord, give me the strength.
Look, I'm sorry, but that's pretty close to New York. I mean, it's really like it's only across the fucking border from Detroit. So like, if you really want to go to scenic Windsor and get married, I don't know, maybe it's a lesbian destination. I've got no clue, but
then I'm just going to continue. Then they returned to New York and lived for a while, and then one of them died and left their estate to the other one. And normally there is a tax exemption when one spouse gives their surviving spouse their stuff, but because the United States is a backwards hellhole, they did not recognize this for same-sex couples. So they had to pay, I believe, $300,000 in taxes.
So this is presumably before same-sex marriage was.
Yeah, this was 2007.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't hear that. Sorry.
No, you're okay.
So these I guess, widow sued the United States.
Right.
That this was unconstitutional. So, that's it.
I think they probably got married at Niagara Falls.
Me too. Oh, about the case, I would like
Jesus.
I would like to think
Uh-huh.
that this turned out well, but then again, it was America 11 years ago. But at the same time,
It was a time of great reform,
was it?
but also a time of well, I mean, you
wasn't.
remember what he was like in office, you know.
Look. All right, so look, wait.
But that's kind of like lame duck period right there, you know.
07 was the waning days of the George W. Bush.
Yeah, and I
administration.
mean, Dick Cheney, like,
To be clear, they got married in 2007. That's not when the case was. I feel like you guys
when
always do this, where you interrupt 1,000 times, and then we get to the part where you have to talk about it, and you absorb
sorry.
nothing.
look, Austin, somebody has to try to be funny.
When did they? When did she die?
Geez, the court case was in 2013. That's the important thing.
Oh,
I'm gonna jump on the side of reform. I think that this was a reformative lawsuit where somebody stood up and said, "That's weird. We should change it."
This podcast gives me an idea, which is all legal oral arguments should be conducted while everyone involved is being pelted by tennis balls, because that way it's really hard to focus, and then you have to be on your fucking best game to get your point across, because that's what it feels like.
okay. I'd like to think that everything worked out.
All right, so that's two for lesbians.
2 for lesbians.
2 for lesbians. By the way, Lesbian Destination is definitely going to be the title.
Okay, so the lesbians win.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well, the lesbian wins. A very bittersweet victory.
Yes.
I suppose.
So the case finds that the Defense of Marriage Act is unconstitutional insofar as it defines marriage as being between a man and a woman. Justice Kennedy writes that the statute is invalid, for no legitimate purpose overcomes the purpose and effect to disparage and injure those whom the state by its marriage laws sought to protect in personhood and dignity. To which Scalia replies, "Look at me, I'm stupid."
Yeah, that sounds like him.
What a fucking asshole.
Although he did. He was the guy who was like, "Hey, video games are free speech." Ooh, bittersweet.
I super don't care about. Never mind. I'm sorry.
I'm not making a character defense or anything like that.
No. Okay.
That's always been like one weird kind of thing where I'm like, that seems very uncharacteristic. Like that seems like something you should have been on the wrong side of history on. But he wasn't. So, surprise to me.
Okay.
What Scalia actually said about this case was, the Supreme Court has, quote, cheated both sides, robbing the winners of an honest victory and the losers of the peace that comes from a fair defeat.
He's dead. So,
I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but I hope it's very painful in hell if it's real.
Yeah. Okay.
What a garbage bag.
Yeah, good law. Good law this time.
Good law.
Yeah. Okay. I had a thought the other day. That song, 867-5309, Jenny. Mm-hmm. Like, I heard it a bunch of times when I was younger. Mm-hmm. But you know, I guess I just didn't listen to the radio stations that would play that song in the years between being young and now. But I heard it on the radio the other day. Is Jenny a sex worker? Is that what that song's about? Did I just miss that when I was young? Because I just didn't get what was going on.
I guess I
I
gotta
don't
look at the
I don't
lyrics
know
now.
the song well enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like the song, it just sounds like if you're not paying attention to the lyrics, it sounds like a woman gave a guy a number and he has to remember what it is, and then he will call her later and hopefully they will fall in love. But actually, the song is the lead singer sees her number on a wall where it says "For a good time, call this," which was, in case anyone was wondering, before the internet, a way in which to sell your goods in a way that was you had plausible deniability for what it meant. So, I mean, I'm not disparaging Jenny. You do what you need to do, I guess. I was just like, I'm remarking on it partly because I think it's funny that I thought this, and partly because it's interesting to me that I can revisit media that I experienced at one age and then completely misunderstand it, and then understand it better at a different age.
See, my problem is that when I hear Jenny in my head, I'm not hearing it from actually listening to the song Jenny. I'm hearing it from this one particular commercial trying to sell me hits of the 80s.
Oh my God, I remember that one.
So I get like a couple of lines of Jenny, and then it immediately turns into "Always Something There to Remind Me," and I'm like, no, that's a different song.
I may have seen that same commercial. Okay. Anyway, this isn't a long conversation. This isn't something that needs to be debated because Google exists and we can just look up the lyrics. And sometimes songwriters just explain what the song means. I just thought I'd throw that out there because it's for some reason been on my mind and I wanted to shoot it out of my word hole instead of letting it rattle around in my brain forever. Yeah. That seems to be what the song's about, and that's fine.
I went to a lyric, what's it called, like annotation site, like ones that they provide the lyrics, but then also explanations. It's very useful.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Are they crowdsourced annotations? Because I have found some very, 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 very mistaken perceptions of songs on those.
So usually they're crowdsourced, but then peer reviewed. I think this one is not been reviewed.
Okay.
But noticeably, in the in the explanation for the line, I need to make you mine, Jenny, don't change your number. The annotation is, if Jenny is rational, she will not only change her number, but call the police on this guy.
Okay.
I think that sounds like a fair assessment of the situation, actually. Yeah, Jenny, it may be a few years too late, but watch out. If you're listening.
So yeah, thank you for that annotation, random internet person. But also, looking at the other ones, and there doesn't seem to be a consensus. It mostly seems like people took at face value that it's written on the wall because that's a thing people do, and didn't really look into it further. Because
people didn't do that like as a joke. Like
no, sometimes they did.
I understand that.
More innocent times.
What I'm trying to say is when people wrote that on the wall, this wasn't like OK Cupid, where they were like, I'm looking for a very successful and good-looking person, and by the way, this is my number. Please only call if you meet this criteria. I'm not trying to say anything bad about sex workers. I want that to be clear. But but it is generally understood that that's what that meant back then.
I understand that is a practice. I also think the other practice, the one that may be even more prevalent, is that men would do that to embarrass and humiliate women who were not sex workers, is to write other people's numbers.
Entirely possible as well. But I'm just let me rephrase that then. When someone legitimately did that for themselves on a wall, that was the purpose.
Right. Yeah. Let me. Does the song clarify where he found this number? Because there's a big difference between finding it in a men's room stall or like at the rectory.
Oh my God. I'll just skim the lyrics real quick. It just says the wall. It says who saw your name Now you think I'm like the others before who saw your name on the and number on the wall. You see, we don't know much about this wall, unfortunately, but we do know that there has been many before.
Okay, so sorry to be boring, but I have the real answer.
Yes. Oh, give it to me.
I'm surprised it took us so long. Honestly, I should have just Googled this like 2 minutes ago. Lead
That's what I'm
guitarist
talking
Jim
about.
Keller, interviewed by People in 1982, said, Jenny is a regular girl, not a hooker. Friends of mine wrote her name and number on a men's room at a bar.
It's the thing you said. People assumed that she was a sex worker, but actually some other people who were not Jenny wrote her name on the wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lead singer Tommy Heath says he wrote it as a joke on a bathroom wall in a motel where they were staying. Quote, "We laughed about it for years," he said.
Why is that funny? It's not a nice thing to do to Jenny.
Jerk, Leon. I mean, not you. I mean,
I understand
because they are.
Yeah, well, that's not a very nice thing to do to Jenny.
But
damn.
But then in another interview, there was like 6 different interviews on this page. In a 2004 interview with Song Facts, co-writer Alex Call explained his version, saying, "Despite all the mythology to the contrary, I came up with Jenny and the telephone number and the music and all that. There was no Jenny. I don't know where the number came from." So basically, half the band and writers say that it was based on a real person and they did it as a joke and she thought it was funny.
And
the
one
other
guy is
said,
like, those
"I made
other
it up."
fuckers are no-talent hacks and I did everything and they can go fuck themselves. That sounds like a bit of an embittered interpretation.
In fact, I am Jenny.
I was Jenny all along!
Okay, so the real answer is we don't know. Apparently. All right.
And
interesting.
Follow up, the woman who had the phone number at the time the song became a smash success was basically harassed into oblivion and ended up suing. And what came out of that was the company disconnected that number.
Okay. I mean, cool, I guess. Wait, she didn't get any money?
I would have permanently connected that number up to Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up.
Oh my god. So interesting. But was this person not even named Jenny? It was just a random number?
Yeah, yes, this was a random Mrs. Laureen Burns, an Alabama householder.
Well, in that case, then if this was then that contradicts the original explanation that it was Jenny, a woman that they knew.
It may have been Jenny's number at some point in time, though.
Yeah, she may have, as the lyrics say, changed her number.
Jenny might be a smarty pants.
Yeah, maybe she got wind of what was going on, and she was like, fuck it. And then this Laureen just took the brunt of it.
To quote Laureen on the subject, Tommy Two-Tone was the one who had the record. I'd like to get a hold of his neck and choke him.
Awesome. She sounds cool.
She does sound pretty cool. So,
yeah.
I'm sorry if that was frustrating for people who, once we broached the subject, immediately looked it up and had to listen to us flail for 5 minutes, because the information is definitely out there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I could have just Googled this before the show, but I thought that the journey would be funny. I mean, the real answer to this is, you type it in and then everything is at our fingertips. But I thought that our brief conversation about sex workers and then about Laureen was more fun. So I hope everyone enjoyed that briefly uncomfortable but then awesome conversation.
Come with us on a magical journey, friends.
Yeah.
We should do that after every minor diversion. Like, how are you, Johnny? You're like, I feel a little sick. I hope you enjoyed that brief diversion.
Just touching base, just checking in, everybody.
That's what we call good pacing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyone have any other topics? We have a little time before questions.
We do. Johnny, have you heard Churches with a V is back and they got some Berninger heat?
I mean, I know that they had something coming. A couple months ago, I think it was. I'm on a couple of record label, like indie record label mailing lists and things like that, and they're all like, "Nils Fromm has a new record," and I'm like, "Yeah, woo!" And then I burned something, which is only funny if you guys know who Nils Fromm is.
It's just obscure music jokes all day.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that they were coming with something, but I have not heard it. I wasn't like a huge fan of their previous album, which I think was their first album, but I might be mistaken.
They have two now, I think.
Do they have two now? Okay, then I don't know. Maybe I skipped one. But no, is it a barn burner?
It's fine. I mean, Churches, for those who don't know, is kind of an electronic pop band. They do one very specific kind of music. If you're not into it, that's fine. But they I wouldn't say they all sound the same, but it's
how would you liken it? Is it like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to describe it.
The other band I think of a lot in their wheelhouse is Purity Ring.
Like Naked and Famous?
Let me see. They actually have 3 studio albums. No, this third one on their page is the new one that's not out yet. So,
okay, then yeah.
Yeah, so their third album, which is called Love is Dead, which is coming out in May, is a collaboration in production with David Stewart from the Eurythmics and Matt Berninger from the National. So they got the heavy hitters on this one. It's a pretty cool thing. And Berninger sings on their lead single. So
really,
yeah, I dig them a lot, and that's.
So is this? Would you say that it's in line with their previous work, or is this just like you're like, this is inspired?
No, it's basically it's the same wheelhouse. They haven't really evolved into any like new heady territory. They're not doing like experimental stuff. They have one hook in their song, and then they sing. It's fine.
Like I had a friend years and years and years ago who convinced me to get Coldplay's X and Y because he was like, no man, it's like. It's inspired, and I listened to it. I bought it, in fact, and then I listened to it, and I was like, this is kind of, at the same time, like every other Coldplay, and unlike every other Coldplay, and you and I can't be friends anymore.
Yeah, I would not liken it to the change between A Rush of Blood to the Head and X and Y, which is a pretty big departure. Like, there's obviously some commonality. Although X and Y has grown on me, it was weird and off-putting when I first heard it, and I just still don't love it. But
I'm not, it comes on, and I just kind of go, oh, that's a shame.
I think the longer it sits with me, the more I see what they were going for, which is fine. It's fine.
I'm not here to knock down Coldplay.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that the fellas in Coldplay put like a lot of fucking effort, blood, and sweat into working with the Chainsmokers, but I'm just like like I can recognize that it was like a step in a direction for them, and I was like, in the first place, like I thought your first 2 albums had like 3 grabby singles and then we're like mostly filler. But like you can grab a lightning bolt that you've been chasing for a little while, and maybe it just hasn't crystallized yet. Maybe it hasn't, the spirit hasn't seized you, and then finally realize like what it is that you're aiming for, and just tear it to pieces with your bare hands and show it to people. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example here.
Leon, any hot Coldplay takes?
Leon, like Nine Inch Nails. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, there's people are gonna get really defensive about this because they get defensive about Nine Inch Nails, but like Head Like a Hole, Pretty Hate Machine, like he was just kind of doing his thing, and then the Downward Spiral came along, right? And it was just like, oh, okay, like this is not that much of a departure from like his previous, which I guess would have been Broken if I'm remembering properly. But it was like everything fell into place. It was like getting that one like straight Tetris piece and just like slotting it right in where it should go, and just being like, oh, So like you can chase your own aesthetic for a while, and never have it really like truly come to fruition until like one very specific effort. So yeah, I guess I'm just like, do you feel like it's that? Is it like, from what you've heard? I mean, I guess the album isn't out yet. I don't know why I'm
Yeah, I think it's too early to say, but I don't expect it to be a big departure. I think all three of their albums are pretty much in the pretty similar vein. So,
all right.
If you didn't dig it, you probably won't dig this one. It's all good.
Maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Hey.
I don't know. Now I'm just thinking about Coldplay. I've moved on because I really did like their first two albums very much, and I still do. I think
all the way through.
More or less. I think I'm willing to get on this hill and maybe die a little.
Like front to back, you could sit down with both of those albums in a row and not be like, eh.
I have many times, but also this is going to be the most hipster thing I've ever said, but I liked them before anyone knew who they were. Like, I owned those albums like when they came out, like immediately, and listened to them all the way through.
I was very well aware of them when they first appeared. I remember I had somebody very excitedly skip up to me in high school, way back in the day, when I was still fresh-faced and gangly, and pass me a mixtape and be like, "You've got to hear this one song. It's called Yellow." And I really liked it. And then they released their second one. I don't remember the name of the song, but We Live in a Beautiful World.
Don't Panic.
Yeah, we do. Thank you. And I was like, hey, maybe there's something to these guys. And I bought the whole album because that was the only way that you could listen to music.
2000.
2000? That wasn't 2000.
Parachutes was released July 10th, 2000.
No. I saw that fucking music video when I was in high school. I swear to God.
I don't know what to tell you.
I was 20 in 2000. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Have you disassociated?
Yeah, maybe. I'm probably thinking of something else. I mean, if it's on the internet, it must be true.
I don't know what to tell you, Johnny, unless there's been a massive Berenstein Bears type scenario.
The experience was still the same. I know that. I even know the friend who passed it to me and was like, "You've got to hear this song." And I got the album, and I liked 3 songs on it, and the rest I was like, "Yeah, really? Oh, okay."
Now I'm more interested in the fact that this album is so powerfully high school adjacent for you that it seems to be warping space and time. Think about because
it may, it may just be that I was still hanging out with all my old high school friends back then. And now that just all seems like one clump of time.
I was just gonna say that maybe it's the feelings that it elicits in you are associated with that age.
I was going to ask you, did you love them so much because secretly they were the only records that you could feel to?
I mean, in 2000, I was 10.
Okay, so you could still feel to everything.
I mean, I could feel this was.
Or were you were you an early bloomer and you were like, nah, gotta start not feeling because that's manly?
No, it's a very specific time in my life when that was about when my mother abandoned me and
I'm sorry,
our family, and so I have a very specific memory of listening to this in an office building that I was working at 10 years old because I had to help pay bills, and it was illegal for me to be working there, but I did anyway because that's America.
So I can see how this album would have some very, very powerful attachment with you, and I can't argue with that.
I'm reading the Wikipedia page now, and it says, despite the album's critical and commercial success, lead singer Chris Martin says that Coldplay didn't like the album. He commented that they look beyond Parachutes, quote, "We know that's terrible music, and we always try to think about what we can do next." Hey, Chris Martin, have you listened to your new stuff? Hey, homie. Did you actually go back and listen, or do you just assume you're always getting better? Because I understand that feeling, but maybe listen to your new stuff a little bit. I watched that Super Bowl performance, homie. Yes, Leon.
I just wanted to let you know, don't feel bad about being a hipster for saying you liked Coldplay before anyone else. Because no one has ever thought anyone was cool for liking Coldplay.
That's pretty true.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the questions a little bit. I thought we were going to cover this, but we got a lot of questions about a couple of specific topics, so I think we might dive in.
All right.
This is the one I thought we'd get to. We touched on it, but Razikiel asks, thoughts on the Ready Player One posters? Y'all ready for this? Let's dunk.
I thought they were jokes.
Yeah. I super hate them. Look, I made a joke on Twitter. I should clarify something though. I'm not angry at these posters because they are like, hurt my childhood or anything stupid like that. It's fine, whatever. You can I'm not I love certain movies. I'm not so attached to them that I think that someone liking them the wrong way is a problem for me. I just think that the geek culture, I guess you can say, and everything I've heard about Ready Player One makes me think like I'm gonna hate this movie, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Can we talk just for a second about like not the movie posters but the movie and how kind of like insipidly tacky it is?
I wrote and deleted like a dozen tweets trying to dunk on it, and I realized it's undunkable because it's so obviously on its face embarrassing. What can you say about it that it doesn't already show its entire ass about?
No, this is something that I very specifically want to talk about, because we can talk about how like my generation of nerds that are like coming into money and power and shit like now are turning into like those guys from the 80s that are like, you call this music? Back in my day, music had like guitar solos, and we would like drive trucks, and I recognize that the time is a flat circle, and we're all just repeating ourselves. But I very specifically want to address how fucking tacky it is that Steven Spielberg directed it. Because, let's just for a second here, okay? Steven Spielberg is, single-handedly responsible for a huge swath of, the nostalgic, gooey nougat center that this movie just straight up blows. And he directed it. That's like directing a movie called "Hey, How Great Am I?" The Steven Spielberg story by Steven Spielberg.
That's a good point. I actually hadn't thought of that part of it. Mostly, it just looks atrocious, and it is basically. I've seen. I won't claim that I've read the book because I refuse to, but I have seen a great number of excerpts from people who are reading the book at this very moment, and all of them show this kind of unaware. It's unaware about the toxicity of the geek culture that it is propping up. I thought when I heard about the concept of the story, I thought that the point would be like this guy who's like absolutely obsessed with Back to the Future in the 80s. He was going to have this kind of revelation where it's like, yeah, this stuff is important to me, but it shouldn't be everything to me, and I should like dial it back a little. So, that I can have some kind of meaningful existence. But no, apparently it doesn't. He doesn't learn a lesson, and the story does not frame it the way I'm saying. It frames it the way of wouldn't it be cool to climb Mount Everest with Batman?
I haven't read it either, but I was hoping that it was going to be a more counterculture story. Because the highlights of the plot are about saving saving the universe that you love, the only thing that makes life bearable from, authoritarian capitalist overlords and shit like that. And but then when your heroes in the universe you love are owned by and created by authoritarian capitalist overlords that see entertainment as a business, and you as nothing more than a fucking like a dollar sign, you're not rebelling against anything to save anything. You're in the system. You're still in the system. Everything you love is still owned by somebody else, and you have to pay money to see it and access it. And then they will increasingly just feed you crap to try and squeeze as much money as they can out of you. And when I was informed that Ready Player One did not have any of these themes in it, I was like, man, why? It could have been, that could have been such a cool moment.
Oh, well.
This movie is going to set off an avalanche of think pieces on everything from our relationship to nostalgia to critiques of capital and the monopolies being created by entertainment companies and the man-child gamer culture, and all of that is valid and important. And we could, like I said, you could dunk for days. There's almost too much to dunk on. But the important thing,
I think we're all just dunking right now.
The important thing that no one's talking about, Johnny, is that the guy who wrote it, Ernest Cline, is the worst.
I don't know much about Ernest Cline, so Austin, take us to Reader's Corner and tell me about Ernest Cline.
Now, there's no shortage of people pointing out the flaws in the prose itself. It's extremely cringy. It's like, oh, me and my best friend Boba Fett are gonna go down to the fucking...
We're gonna go to Tashi Station and get some power converters.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a non-Star Wars reference. It's just show how it cascades.
We're gonna go down to Little China and cause some big trouble.
Yeah, exactly. But it's very. I have seen a couple people talk about it, but I think it's underreported that he also has other works besides Ready Player One, including some poetry that he released. To the public on purpose.
Now, as someone who has released poetry to the public on purpose, I know that this can be a grave mistake.
I think maybe content.
Not that anybody has said anything bad about like the poetry that I've done for Dice Funk. Like everybody that I've seen so far has been quite nice about them, but I think Austin might be protecting me. But please go on.
No, everybody loves you, Johnny. You're a universal sensation. I'm going to read a little excerpt from an Ernest Cline poem, but I guess I need to issue a content warning.
Oh.
Quote.
Leon, could you edit in some music for this, please?
Jesus.
I don't know.
Okay, here we go. Quote, all the porn I've come across was targeted at beer-swilling, sports bar-dwelling alpha males. Men who like their women stupid and submissive. Men who can only get it up for monosyllabic cock-hungry nymphos with gargantuan breasts and a 3-word vocabulary. Adult films are populated with these collagen-injected, liposuctioned women, many of whom have resorted to surgery and self-mutilation in an attempt to look the way they have been told to look. These aren't real women. They're objects. End quote.
Ernest, do you see where you've gone wrong here?
And so, do you guys want a movie about how he really likes Transformers?
Yeah, he's such a trademark nice guy. So, yeah. God, I found that incredibly insincere, but I don't think that's a new opinion. Yeah, he seems shitty. I will say, while we're attacking the author instead of the work, why not?
It's just the work's so easy to attack. I felt like I had to bring a different angle.
No, we can do ad hominem for no reason.
For no reason?
Why not? What was I going to say? Oh yeah, apparently his book is also transphobic. So there, I saw excerpts about that, and not in a way that like a character says something and then it is framed as bad, but not that.
Yeah, he seems incredibly interested in policing who gets to be a real woman.
Yeah,
and as long as they're interested in him or the character who is him.
Oh my. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we could dunk for days, but we should probably move on at some point.
Like, it's bad because it's cringy and childish or whatever, but it's also bad politically, ethically, morally. I wonder if there is anything redeemable in here, because I can remember being younger and being like, when I watched Shaun of the Dead for the first time, and I realized they were like referencing Dawn of the Dead or something, and I was like, oh, yeah. I recognize that shot. That's a cool reference. Like, yeah. There is something there, and I don't want to say it can never be utilized for good, but I don't know what it is about the current climate. I don't know that anybody's doing it well now. What is
there's a big what you have to recognize. What we have to recognize is there's a big difference between iteration of something, between like taking something and saying, this was something that I really loved some parts about, and mentioning a better movie in your crappy movie. And being like, oh, do you remember Back to the Future? You guys, people are going to remember Back to the Future, so they're going to be like, yeah, I remember Back to the Future, and then it's going to be awesome. Like, did you see, there's a guy I follow on Twitter whose name I'm going to pronounce, like, absolutely horribly, because I know he runs a podcast, too, but I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. Demi Adaju Yigbe, maybe?
Was this the post with the guy who wrote a theme song for?
Yeah, the fake theme song.
Yeah, I saw
you guys saw that, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of the joke I was trying to steal with me and my friend Boba Fett are gonna go down to the Enterprise or whatever.
Like, that was just right there. I mean, knowing what I know about the movie, right there, I was just like, oh shit. Like, that's all. That's all. That's like the last word on it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Consider Ernest Cline thoroughly dunked.
I'm sorry. He has also done a very, very good rap about Get Out, which I only just saw this weekend.
Oh.
I don't know if you've seen it, but he pretends to do Will Smith rapping during the closing credits of Get Out. Which I'm just gonna post this right here, so you guys can listen to it at your leisure. But it's pretty fucking incredible. You guys can listeners, you can find him on Twitter. His handle is @ElectroLemon. And I would absolutely advise you to go and check him out, because he's incredibly funny. He's very insightful. He's a very clever, very, very funny, and also, I should say, too kind. He's very socially minded.
Good.
So Ready Player One was the topic I thought we'd get to earlier in the show. The other one...
I thought they were jokes. I saw the posters on like a Google image search because somebody asked me about them, and I was like, nah, where are the real posters? Come on.
The other thing we probably should talk about, and a question comes in from Cyretha. Leon, how were the Oscars this year?
I watched it because a friend of mine wanted to, and any excuse to like hang out and eat bad food and watch TV is fine with me.
Cheat day.
But it's an award show. I agree with some of the awards and disagree with some of the awards. I don't have any. I wish I had like a strong hot take for this, but I just kind of don't. I'm sorry. It was fine. The show was fine. It was hard watching it right like the day after watching the Film Independent Spirit Awards, because for all the like medium liberal jokes that were PG-13 kind of jokes that were on the Oscars. The Film Independent Spirit Awards, hosted by Nick Kroll and John Mulaney, were just like savagely done.
Sorry, I was just taking a sip of water right there when you said it was hosted by Nick Kroll and John Mulaney, and I was like, oh, that must have been a show.
Yeah, it was great. They hosted it last year as well. But to give you an example of like the kind of jokes they were telling, it was something like basically everyone who's come out as a sexual harasser over the past year, like were basically told to like they were gonna rot in a grave or something like that. It was almost almost uncomfortable how harsh it was, and I really liked it. It made me feel good. And the Oscars were like fine. They were fine. The jokes were fine. Jimmy Kimmel was fine. Everything is fine. It's an award show. They did some progressive things, and that's nice. But they also just did some cringy shit that, like feed into the sort of like conservative notion that Hollywood is out of touch. Like, I don't ever need to see famous people deigning to meet with the commoners at a theater. It was like, oh, look, guys, they're gonna love us interrupting their movie because we're famous. And it's like, okay, I mean, I guess they did, or they were told ahead of time, but like, I don't know. It just seemed very like the Royals walking down the street, and isn't it cool that they're here? I didn't like that segment, and that kind of made the whole thing kind of sour for me. There was some better stuff, of course, and I'm glad that Anything But Lady Bird won.
That has really become your new Forrest Gump, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It was actually shut out. It was nominated for so much, and it lost all of them.
Nice, yeah.
So
I didn't watch the show, but I saw Shape of Water and Get Out got most of the things that they were nominated for, which is basically the best possible universe. Also, Roger Deakins, after being nominated for like literally
right?
over a
14
dozen times but never won,
Yeah.
finally took one for Blade Runner. So
yeah, it was his 14th time. When as soon as they said Roger, I like clapped a little, and that was my favorite part of the whole show.
I really liked. Did you guys see the photo of Keegan-Michael Key when he saw Jordan Peele win for best original screenplay for Get Out?
I was really happy for his friend.
It's like he stood up on his chair and like threw his arms in the air and was like screaming.
Nice.
It was a nice moment.
That's cool. But yeah, that I wish I had like stronger opinions about the Oscars. You would think I would, but they're fine. The Oscars are fine. I did a video about a while back about the fact that they are, in a way, extremely unimportant, but are important because they're important. They're important in the sense that they are tastemakers, but they are not good. They do not judge the movies that we will still like in a few years.
Right. The longevity of art is not determined by Oscar winners. It's
yeah.
It's a non. There's no connective tissue.
Yeah, and I'm not just saying that like, oh, I know so much better. I'm saying like historically speaking, like if you look at what were the Best Picture nominations 4 years ago, which is not even that long a time ago, nobody is talking about half of them anymore.
Yeah.
There's
like my favorite story being Forrest Gump going up against the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. And also like I think it was only like 2 years ago that Spotlight won Best Picture, and that was a fine film. Nobody on earth is still talking about Spotlight. There's no Spotlight fandom. It's just not a thing, and that's not knocking it because it was a good movie. But
do you want to hear just a quick weird aside about Spotlight?
Okay,
why
not?
My DVR refuses to delete it. Like I recorded it off a movie channel, like no fucking joke, like 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And like every time I try to delete it, it just like the dialogue disappears, and it's like no.
Journalism is important, Johnny. You require Spotlight.
I would format the whole thing, but I still have my HD records of Twin Peaks 2 on there because I haven't got my Blu-ray version yet because I'm lazy about that stuff. But when I do, we'll see. In the
it's me, Johnny, your DVR. I require you to watch Spotlight.
I suspect that The Shape of Water will have a continuing fan base, and that people will, years from now think, oh, you know what movie I like to watch tonight? The Shape of Water. I haven't seen that in about 5 years. No one's going to say that about The Big Short.
No, but I mean, yeah, that's Del Toro. Although I was a big fan of not The Big Short. Sorry, I thought you were.
Yeah.
I thought you said The Big Sick for a second there.
Yeah,
Because I thought The Big Sick was kind of sweet.
yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah, okay, that's what I have to say about the Oscars.
I'm glad we've all just accepted that everyone's horny for the Fishman. We talked about
Hey!
that before, but
Wait, quick movie aside question. I
Okay.
need to know something desperately, you guys.
Okay.
Can you guys watch Annihilation on Netflix?
no, that's only in
No.
other
Yeah.
territories.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I watched it in the theater.
Well, I was just curious because I can't in Canada, but
Oh.
everybody was under the impression that you could in America.
Maybe
No,
you can.
no, no.
I
In
thought
America-
I thought it was in other regions. Maybe it's us. I'm checking now.
No, it's not us. In America, it's in theaters. In Canada, I have no idea. In Europe,
Oh, it's in theaters.
In Europe, it's on Netflix.
Oh. All right then.
It's going to be on UK Netflix on March 12th, which
Okay,
is
I'm
5
just
days
checking.
from recording.
I'm just checking. You
Yeah.
know, that was just kind of like a weird aside because somebody was like, "Did you know that Annihilation is a Netflix movie?" I'm like, "It's not on Netflix."
No, it's
Fuck you!
Apparently, the studio didn't have faith in it, so they were trying to dump it to streaming in like a staggered release or something. It's getting great reviews.
Oh, so they tried to
Yeah.
Cloverfield Paradox it.
to
Yeah,
bury it.
it except the Cloverfield Paradox is very bad and got bad reviews, whereas Annihilation they knew it was going to get good reviews, but they also suspected it was going to flop, and it did.
Yeah,
But
it seems like one of the
whatever.
movies that's like it's a critic's movie because it's like smart and stuff. And
smart and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And
Emphasis
stuff.
on the stuff.
Oh yeah. All right. Next question.
Next.
We've done 2.
yeah, sorry, it was just so much fun.
No, it's not.
to
It's
dump.
not your. It's not your fault. All right. But yeah, whatever's next.
I'm reading this wrestling question and it's just gibberish. Let's see if you can decipher it.
Can I say
Yeah.
it?
Huh? Yeah, you can say it.
All right.
Silent Wind of Doom asks, if Ronda is with Steph and Triple H and Asuka get one championship shot, who should get the other?
Wrestling!
What does that mean? I recognize those are names. What's happening, Leon?
I know who Triple H is because he's obviously the son of Double H, who was a very, very popular coal miner wrestler from the 1920s.
Okay. Wow. So Triple H and Stephanie McMahon are going to form a tag team and wrestle Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. Asuka is.
She's a piece of work.
She sure is. And Asuka is facing Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's title. The SmackDown Women's title has not been announced yet. There was like some scuttlebutt that it was going to be Charlotte, who is the women's champion, versus Ronda, but since it's not, I don't know who Charlotte faces. And like I haven't heard any like rumor or confirmation. So yeah, that's basically it. I don't have there's not like a funny answer to this. That's just like what the card says.
Dark Cat Reltnark sent me a picture of their dog. Thank you. It's not really helpful for the podcast, but I enjoyed it, and I encourage anyone to send me pictures of their dog on Twitter. Thank you. Chase Jones asks, how would one go about getting into Magic the Gathering with no prior knowledge? This is a very timely question because I'm attempting to indoctrinate Chris Larios of Weekly Manga Recap fame, also Dice Funk, and it's going pretty well. He has a deck now.
Do they not have starter decks still?
Yeah, they do. So if you're interested in getting into Magic the Gathering, I think what the company wants you to do is go to your local game store and ask for, I believe they're called welcome decks. They're free, and they're very simple decks that come with like the basic rules, I think. There's some kind of like pack-in rules, and they're made to play against other welcome decks. So presumably you would get somebody else who is trying to get you into the game, and you play against each other, and that would teach you how to play. That's what I think they want you to do. There's also video games of Magic the Gathering, which I've talked about before.
Yeah, those are good actually. The ones that you get on Steam.
Yeah, Magic Duels is the one with a good tutorial and so forth. I played through those to see how they were, and I think I talked about this on this show before, that Magic doesn't translate super well to video game, but the tutorials do teach you the rules, which is helpful. The other video games are Magic Online, which is unplayable for most people because it was made in like 1998 or something. It looks like a DOS game. They're trying to update it. The new one is Magic Arena, which is in beta right now, which is like that but better is the idea. So I don't know how that is yet. I haven't played the beta. So the thing is, it's an incredibly difficult game to get into because it's complicated, and there are a lot of things to keep track of. I think I've said this before as well, but if you want to get into card games in general, maybe try Hearthstone first, because that has it's Blizzard, right? Nobody does it better. Like, their shit is on lock, tutorial-wise. But if you want to get into Magic specifically, because you have the same brain sickness that I do, I would say either Magic Duels. There's a couple different versions. They've stopped making them. They used to do, like, yearly installments. I think the last one's, like, 2015 or something, which is it should be free in the App Store. Or the Welcome Deck stuff if you have a local game store. Or you could just watch... I'm sure there's, like, YouTube tutorials, right? There has to be.
There's gotta be. There absolutely has to be.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, even if you're more into reading, Wizards of the Coast, they have tons of, assets on their website and things like that about rule books and fucking, their D&D shit. Their free D&D shit's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So...
So the way I learned to play was a friend, sat me down because they wanted someone, they didn't have anyone to play with. And so they taught me the rules. And I think that's the way actually, just like mathematically speaking, most people get in, is a friend bullies them into it, it's like a double-edged sword because, friends aren't necessarily teachers, and, their pedagogy has, good best practices. Actually, I listened to Mark Rosewater's podcast, the head designer for Magic the Gathering, and he talks a lot about the barriers to entry of the game and how they've tried to get rid of some of the unnecessary rules that kind of bog the game down, and how I actually just released a really recent episode as of this recording was about this specifically, and he recorded it as if you want to get your friend into Magic, play them this episode, and then he went on to talk about it. So Drive to Work is the name of that podcast. I maybe search that up, find the last episode that he recorded, and that's a resource. It's a tough game. It is. It's a lot of fun, but episode 516, New to Magic is what it's called. So yeah. Let's see here. Other questions. Oh god. Matthew B. Hare asks, thoughts on the whole Kingdom Come Deliverance news. Do you guys know about this?
The only news that I know is that they're it needs a patch. We don't know when. Fuck you guys.
So Kingdom Come Deliverance is a video game that came out recently, and it's a pretty big hit. Low key. It's, it's not like taking over Call of Duty or anything, but for a PC centric historical game, I almost said fantasy, but it's explicitly not fantasy.
I think it was kickstarted as well, wasn't it?
I don't recall, but the pitch is what if Skyrim but no magic? What if Witcher but no magic? It's that kind of
It's not even just that. It's also you're not the special, you know. Well, you're Dave asshole.
But that's the controversy, is that this is a game all about quote unquote realism. That's their big. That's their one big bullet point. That's what the back of the box just says in capital letters: realism. But what the developer has really, by their actions, kind of signaled is when they say realism, what they mean is no black people.
And women only in subservient roles.
And there's one hand where you could say they set out to make something historically accurate, and sometimes history is politically incorrect, but no, this guy wears shirts that say are you triggered, snowflake? It's not a coincidence. And also,
wait,
Yeah.
Are you exaggerating, or do you mean legitimately?
No, this like the I don't know if it's the whole team, but they've been this is an ongoing controversy where the developers of this game are unpleasant.
I see. Gotcha.
And trying to trigger the libs, as they say.
I get it. Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to make a historical simulator. Obviously, that appeals to people. That's fine. But the using realism, quote unquote, as a shield to imagine a world without non-whites is so clearly fucked up. I don't feel like I should have to explain it. And also, as many historians on my timeline have pointed out, Europe, throughout all of its history, had black people.
This that is the thing that really gets me, is that like you're hiding behind historical accuracy, and yet obviously you've never actually not even read a history book, right?
It almost goes back to the beginning of this fucking show, where it's like you could be annoying, just don't be annoying and wrong.
Yeah, but like not even a history book, but even like a book about history. Which is like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, history is largely written by people who had like tons of money, who made themselves want to look really good, like, you know, who were just like, hey, you educated guy, I'll give you like tons of money to write a book about what an amazing king I am. Well, tell me, sir, are you about to be murdered? Well, I hope not. Okay!
Think about how distorted the media and the culture we have now portrays what life is like, and then imagine that being distorted over hundreds of years.
Yeah, and not being able to change the channel either.
I saw some historians and stuff talking about this game, and they were talking about how, like, oh, if you have a quote-unquote realistic depiction of this time period, you should get it peer-reviewed in an academic journal and then enjoy being a world-famous academic, because no one knows. Like, that it is not clear what life was like at this particular time and place.
Yeah.
And anyone claiming to is either deliberately lying or laboring under some delusion that was created by our carefully manicured and chaotically assembled pop culture about those times.
But I mean, like, here's the thing that gets to me the most, is that even common sense dictates this, right? Is that if, you know, historically, realistically, everybody lived in such a fucking, like, homogenous society where it was like, this is the way it is. There's no black people. Women are subservient. Everybody believes in the Lord. It's like, it's not like somebody woke up one day and was like, I got a great idea. I don't know about God. Like, I mean, you know, like it wasn't like these things don't just happen spontaneously. People are born with rebellious spirits, you know, like you get explorers from far lands who like come to visit places who have darker skin. You get like, you know, fucking like families who are like, you know, women who don't want to get married and tied down to a man because it's just like, no, fuck, no, you know, like my father treated my mother like an absolute terrible fucking person. And people who sit around in cafes or, like, in taverns drinking mead and being like, well, you know, if there was a God, I don't know why he has to have his boot up my ass all the time. Like, human history is filled with dissent and variety. Because without it, we never would have got to this fucking point. Never would have happened. Never.
Yeah.
Historically speaking, there was no such thing as white people. Until, like, a certain point in time, genetically. Like, for fuck's sakes, don't pretend like you were there.
Weren't those the days? Okay.
I feel like a lot of this is self-evident, especially for our audience, but it's like, I have no problem with historical games and things trying to recreate moments in time and, like, you know, do your best, I guess. But it's like the thing with The Witcher. Do you guys remember when The Witcher came out, and Witcher 3 specifically, and people were talking in critical circles about its lack of diversity? and people were once again saying, like, it would be unrealistic to have black people in this game with all the dragons and the Cyclops and the Gorgons and stuff. And it's just like, you... At some level, you have to know it's an excuse.
And then CD Projekt Red released some DLC that was like, oh, hey, look. Diverse people. And it, like, not in a way that kind of, like, excuses the oversight, but I feel like the oversight was... And maybe this is a little bit of fanboy in me talking. I don't know. I'm a little biased. I love the game. But, like, them kind of being like, oh, geez... We should probably do something about that.
And it didn't shatter the fiction into pieces. It actually is perfect. It's the DLC for that game is better than most games. Those are incredibly well-made games, even though they are pretty problematic, most of them. The first one had you collect sex cards.
Yes.
So, listen, things you like can be problematic. It's about acting in good faith. I think CD Projekt Red, although I heard they have some labor issues, and I'm sensitive to that, I think they're coming from a genuinely good-hearted place.
I'm fairly certain that we can expect more diversity in Cyberpunk 2077. And if we don't, then yeah, definitely cause to worry.
God hopes. So we're almost out of time, but I do want to read... this isn't even a question. This is just an update. JJ Hernandez wants us to know, quote, I applied to a job at Home Depot because they're the only people hiring in my area, and they sent back an email saying, quotes within quotes here, quote, we are excited that you're interested in joining our orange-blooded family, end quote. So
cool. Tell them you listen to their podcast. And get an in.
JJ Hernandez goes on to say, yes, orange-blooded is in an orange font. So, for listeners who remember that episode, Home Depot is an incredibly strange company.
That is just such a community college fucking marketing degree stunt.
Yeah.
I mean, not like... I don't want to rag on anybody listening who's going to community college. I really don't, okay? Because more education is better education. Like, the more you can enrich your life and become a more knowledgeable person, all the more power to you. But I hope you're not going for marketing. Because that is like... You gotta be good these days. You have to be, because I think we're being advertised to so much that almost immediately people can be like, yeah, that's bullshit.
That's why Facebook is using you and your friends to market to each other while sock puppeting your accounts, because traditional marketing doesn't work.
Exactly. Like, what a lot of you people don't know is that I am actually Austin this episode.
Oh, shit. How was it?
I feel young again, but like even more tired.
Yeah.
Which is really weird because I sort of thought I had kind of like experienced the zenith of that.
I thought you were just going to say very tired.
No, just even more than usual, actually. Although I am enjoying being a couple of inches taller.
Nice.
And also, having played football now, I can say with full confidence, bro.
All right, dog.
What's up?
Leon's like, can I go now?
Yeah, it's fine. I just want to say real quick right before we go, I've decided that the people on Earth who I have the least sympathy for are conservative writers who make think pieces about why it's hard for them to date now. It's like you made your bed. Also, like I find that a little strange that conservatives who have like Republican or Trump or whatever in their profile can't get anyone to date them, because that also says that other conservatives refuse to date conservatives. So like that doesn't entirely add up. Unless you're like self-owning yourself by explaining that even you refuse to date someone who has your shitty opinion.
Breaking news. No one will touch my racist dick.
Not even just racist, Austin. Not even just racist, but also enabling of sexual abuse.
There's that. I mean, that's certainly a thing. Yeah. Okay. So I want all y'all to know that.
Respect me as a man. I only voted for and worship another man who self-avowedly loves to molest people.
Yeah. BTW, there was a guy who came into our comments section.
Hey, a guy.
Yeah, on last week's episode, and he said something like, you guys are the people who made me a conservative. You need to tone it back because you're the reason why Trump... Okay, all right, first of all, no, that's not true. And second of all, it's easy to tell you're full of shit because I can click on your username and see that for over the course of years, you have liked... like the worst far-right anti-SJW YouTube channels. Like, this is your thing. This was you before you met us.
Also, you can listen to this podcast in which we detail the horrific abuses of all the systems we live under, and you come out the other side of that in favor of those abuses.
Well, I guess I was right all along.
Yeah, you're just twisted on a cellular, molecular soul level, and there's no... I don't have any... I have no balm for that disease.
Man, I can't make anybody do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't make the person I loved most and who loved me the most in, like, our entire lives stay with me.
Damn.
I mean, if I couldn't do that, right?
Jesus.
I'm gonna completely change someone's political ideologies?
Yeah. Like, I think this person... No, I mean, first of all...
I
this
can't
person
even make Leon like me.
Oh.
I've been doing this show for years.
There was a twist.
Leon, just touch his racist dick, please.
I will. I might. But no, seriously. Like, this isn't. I can't even argue against this person's point because he's obviously arguing in bad faith. What you were saying is a lie, and you know that it is. You're trying to get me to scale back things. You think you're smarter than me, I guess. You're super not. I mean, your plan is like deeply flawed. We're
Leon,
on the internet.
But Leon,
Yeah.
Don't really all the people on the left just want to make friends?
Is that what we want?
No,
only if you
man.
say it like that.
I want fucking
no.
rights is what I want. I want my future to be more secure. I want a living wage. I want to not worry that, like, my friends are not going to, like, get a terrible blood infection because they lose a tooth and can't go to the fucking dentist or some shit. That's what I want.
Yeah. And I want to be clear about something. I'm not trying to sit here being all Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm not saying that I'm super smart. I'm just saying I'm smarter than this guy. So that's someone I can't remember who said this to me once. Someone was just ignorant and saying some ignorant stuff to me when I was younger. And I says, well, you're wrong. And also what you're saying is kind of hateful. And then the guy says, oh, you think you're so smart. And I said, no, I just think I'm smarter than you, dude. There are levels. I'm not great. I'm just not the worst.
Yeah. Remember the adage, right? You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than, the other guy that the bear is also chasing.
Yeah. This guy was definitely eaten by a bear. Any last words before we go?
How many degrees do you think I have to get before idiots will stop trying to explain things to me?
I don't think there's an upper limit on that.
I know, it's super fucked up, isn't it? Like, I feel like if I became, like, a doctor, lawyer, astrophysicist or something, I could just be like, this anime was bad, without getting someone in my menchies trying to tell me that I don't get it. Maybe
It's not gonna happen.
I
also.
know, it's my brain is, fucking...
Pipe dream. Dream. You gotta come down to earth. Sensible goals, right?
I know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess for my end of episode note, do you guys have an inner monologue that talks in a different accent?
No, unfortunately, mine size sounds just like me.
Because my inner monologue is Scottish.
My inner monologue is exactly the same accent. It's just in Spanish, but with a totally American voice. Now, what? What are you talking about?
Nah, my inner monologue, my inner monologue. Whenever I talk to myself, or just kind of like assess what's going on in a kind of a monologic, dialogic way.
All words, I assure you.
Yes, absolutely. Don't worry. I've done the reading. I've found languages in places on dictionaries in the earth. Yeah, Scottish. I just want to clarify that that's not just because I'm like, Scottish accents are cute, but my mom is actually from Paisley, so.
Neat. That's cool. Sometimes my inner monologue sounds like Christopher Reeve, but only when I want to feel inspired.